Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that literally touches almost everyone on the planet. Whether you're a diehard superfan or someone who hasn't ever picked up a bowl in your life, you are part of this story. We're going to trace the history and the absolute necessity of sports, and we'll see how games didn't just entertain us, but actually actively shaped our evolution and our entire society. Now, to really wrap our heads around the value of something, sometimes you have to imagine a world without it. So, what if sports just never existed? I want you to truly picture that for a second. Erase the Olympic Games, wipe out every football match, every cricket tournament, every wrestling bout. Imagine walking past a public park and there are no kids playing tag or racing each other. At first glance, you might think, well, we just wouldn't have that specific type of entertainment. But actually, scratch that. It goes so much deeper than just passing the time. The absolute truth is, without sports, human civilization as we know it would be completely unrecognizable. They aren't just games. They are literally one of humanity's oldest, most vital traditions. Over millennia, they've been ancient survival tools, ways to prepare for defense, the glue that built robust communities, and a way to celebrate our cultures. They've kept us healthy and, amazingly enough, even acted as peace treaties between warring nations. But to really understand why, we've got to travel back a few thousand years. Let's rewind a bit, way back. Long before massive stadiums or primetime broadcasts, early humans were just trying to survive as hunter-gatherers. And every single hunt was a high-stakes test, sprinting after prey, throwing spears with precision, climbing, swimming. These weren't sports back then. They were absolute life-or-death necessities. But eventually, people started practicing these skills outside the hunt. Kids would race each other, adults set up throwing contests or mock fights to sharpen their combat skills. And without even realizing it, these early communities had just invented the very first organized competitions. Competition drove improvement, improvement meant you were more likely to survive, and survival meant human civilization kept going. It's like a giant puzzle perfectly falling into place. Okay, let's look at how this played out across the globe. As societies grew into these massive, complex empires, physical contests became a huge part of statecraft. Over in ancient Egypt, like 4,000 years ago, wrestling and archery were strict military prep. In Mesopotamia, kings used hunting competitions to show off their physical dominance and cement their royal authority. Meanwhile, in ancient China, martial arts and this early football-like game called kuju were all about instilling ironclad discipline in their soldiers. And ancient India gave us traditional wrestling like Mulla Yuddha and the practice of yoga, which was all about achieving that absolute physical and spiritual balance. Basically, every major civilization took human movement and gave it a profound purpose. Section 1. 776 BCE. The first Olympic Games. Over in ancient Greece, sports held such immense cultural weight that they literally hit pause on actual bloody wars. They actually called for truces just so athletes could travel safely to compete. Think about that. That ancient radical idea that a game could temporarily stop violence and bring people together, that is the absolute foundation of our modern sporting ideals. Now, when those ancient empires eventually fell, sports didn't just disappear. No way. They decentralized and evolved into these beautiful, distinct reflections of local geography and culture. While European knights were off jousting, Japan was meticulously perfecting the art of sumo wrestling. Persia was all in on polo. Native American communities were playing these massive miles-long games of early lacrosse that could literally last for days across huge open fields. And across Africa, intricate wrestling and stick fighting traditions were thriving. Every single culture on Earth was just naturally developing its own unique physical language. Which brings us right into the modern era. The Industrial Revolution hits, completely transforming society and pushing millions of people from small villages into these dense, crowded cities. Suddenly, those unstructured village games needed some actual rules. Governments started pushing physical education, and standardization became the name of the game. Boom, 1891, basketball is invented. Just 5 years later, in 1896, the modern Olympic Games are revived. Sports officially became a universal language, giving nations a way to compete peacefully on a global stage instead of, on a battlefield. But, this brings us to a really fascinating pause. We've just seen how sports helped us hunt, prep for war, and build empires. But today, we live in an era dominated by screens, automation, and digital communication. Our physical survival definitely doesn't require us to throw a javelin or outrun a wild predator anymore. So, why does this ancient tradition still hold such a massive, undeniable power over us today? Well, the answer really comes down to how sports treat the entire human being. Sure, we all know the physical stuff, right? Building lung capacity, strengthening your heart, fighting off modern sedentary diseases, and just living longer. But honestly, equally crucial today is the mental health side of the equation. Physical exertion releases endorphins, which actively reduces anxiety and depression. And maybe most importantly, sports build emotional resilience. They teach you how to fail publicly, how to lose gracefully, and how to wake up the very next day and come back stronger. There is absolutely no textbook on earth that can teach you that kind of emotional control, quite like stepping onto a field or a court.
And it goes way beyond just the individual, too. Sports demand hard work, respect, teamwork. They are basically the ultimate social glue. Just think about a 90-minute football match. For that hour and a half, millions of people who speak totally different languages, practice different religions, and come from completely different economic backgrounds, they are all cheering together in perfect sync. It builds these incredibly powerful national identities and serves as a massive reminder that beneath all our surface-level differences, we really do share a collective human spirit.
And look, we can't ignore the sheer economic reality here. The global sports industry generates billions of dollars. And this isn't just going to the star athletes. It's a massive economic engine. It supports an entire global workforce. We're talking coaches, physiotherapists, orthopedic doctors, journalists, broadcasters, event managers, you name it. It drives tourism and advertising worldwide. It is absolutely a fundamental pillar of the modern global economy. Now, to be completely fair, we do have to look at the whole picture. It's not all perfect. The integrity of modern sports is frequently tested by some incredibly serious challenges. Doping and performance-enhancing drugs totally threaten the fundamental idea of fairness. We see instances of corruption that really damage public trust. There's also this aggressive commercialization that can sometimes put profit margins right above the actual well-being of the athletes. Plus, the intense spotlight puts excessive mental health pressure on competitors, all while constant debates rage over how we should even be using new tech in officiating. Going forward, the future of sports absolutely depends on balancing all this rapid innovation with strict integrity. But when you step back and look at this whole evolutionary timeline, a really clear, beautiful pattern emerges. Culture became competition. Competition became education. And education became inspiration. What started out as early humans literally throwing spears just to survive the winter naturally evolved into cultural festivals. Those festivals turned into organized competitions. Those competitions became the ultimate classroom for discipline and resilience. And today, those lessons serve as profound inspiration for billions of people watching around the globe. Which leads us to a pretty profound realization. The history of sports is, in many ways, the history of humanity itself. Whether it's a kid kicking a homemade football around a dusty village, a runner pushing their limits before the sun even comes up, or an Olympian standing on a podium with a gold medal around their neck, they're all participating in the exact same unbroken tradition. A tradition that has constantly pushed us to be healthier, stronger, more disciplined, and far more united. So, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on. In an increasingly digital world, a world filled with artificial intelligence and virtual realities, is the human body our last true arena? As technology changes absolutely everything around us, sports serve as this timeless anchor. They remind us that our physical bodies matter, our minds matter, and our tangible, breathing communities matter. Striving to become better together is still one of the absolute greatest achievements of human civilization. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep pushing your limits, and I will catch you in the next one.